Nation in Conversation, taking you on a journey through the South African countryside. Proudly sponsored by Monsanto, Nedbank and Senves, in association with Hinterland and NWK.
Hello and welcome to Nation in Conversation. Our journey over the last couple of weeks took us through rural South Africa. Time and time again, we discovered agricultural industries that make local economies tick, reaching far beyond primary agriculture. This episode is certainly no exception. This week, our journey included a stopover in Mkuze in KwaZulu-Natal, a key region in South African sugarcane production. This is what you can look forward to in today's program.
In Homegrown, we visit sugarcane producer Charl Senekal and explore the incredible tourism activities in this region. Burgess joins us in Context for his weekly contribution. We then visit Roy McGladdery on his farm to share his story with us. In Dialogue, Mpumelelo Mkhabela welcomes Suresh Naidoo from the South African Sugar Association to get his input around the industry. Mkuze is a small town in northern KwaZulu-Natal, very close to Pongola and approximately 150 kilometers from Richards Bay on the N2 route. It is nestled between the Mkuze River and Ghost Mountain. It is an agricultural community with concentrated sugarcane crops. In the 1980s, cotton farming was a source of employment in the area. Since then, immense growth and development have taken place. Apart from the vast sugarcane plantations in the region, Mkuze and the surrounding areas are home to many pristine game farms that form the heartbeat of tourism in the area. There are many accommodation options in the area, coupled with the tranquil bush and a food safari. This makes for the ideal breakaway. Our route led us to Zimanga, the first reserve in Africa specifically designed to cater for the needs of today's wildlife photographers, or safari clients that appreciate the seclusion it offers. Wildlife in the area is flourishing, now home to more than 80 species of mammals and in excess of 400 species of birds. Unique hides offer every photographer the opportunity to get that perfect shot. This is of course also a popular attraction for overseas visitors, stimulating the economy of the area even further. It is here that sugarcane producer Charl Senekal runs his successful family business. By basing their philosophy on economic, social and environmental responsibilities, this is now a beacon of hope, progress and advancement. An astounding result of developments in this area that stretches across more than 80 square kilometers is the fact that 300,000 local community members and their animals are supplied with water from the farm. Senekal Farm itself supplies work to more than 1,000 people. We talked to Charl about his journey over the years to where he and his family operate a successful business that represents the entire value chain, as well as the challenges currently facing the industry.
Senekal farming is a very serious producer of sugarcane in South Africa. If we're not the largest, we're amongst the largest. The farm produces about 50,000 tons of pure sugar per year, and we're still growing. Let me take you back to 1999 when we bought the specific farm from the Mondi Group, Indo-American. There were 41 people working on the farm. They had severe droughts at that stage. The town was dying. People were underfed because there was no employment. I would really say at that stage, unemployment was probably in the region of, I would estimate, it's a total estimate, but as much as 65% unemployment. And we came here, we started developing. We did many good things like building a pipeline, supplying water to the community, the town of Yabombo and surrounding areas. And we started employing people. Today there are in the region of 1,000 people that working for us, and if we do the citrus and pecanut project, we'll probably go up to 1,500 and even 1,600 at stages. And the economy of the town is picking up. We have more than 85 game farms in operation in this area, and it is becoming a destination. People fly in from all over. Land here, watch game for 10, 12 days, get in the airplane, fly back to England or America or Germany, wherever they come from. It's not just they're coming to South Africa, they're coming to this area specifically. And today, there are some magnificent game farms in and around Mkuze, employing top quality people, the best game guides you can get in South Africa are operating here. Makatini is the best situated area in the whole of Southern Africa to do exactly what I want to do, developing sugarcane and other high-value crops. We have 180,000 hectares of land on the Makatini. Not all of it is suited for irrigation, but I would say there are at least 20,000 hectares of A and B type soils suited for any crop that you can grow in a subtropical climate. I think we must make the public aware of the advantages of agriculture. If we have to import, say, apples, pears, grapes from other countries, what will it not cost? If we have to import sugar from other countries, what will it not cost? I don't want to say we neglect the producer, but the producer is the most important, the agricultural producer, the most important cog in the gearbox of feeding a nation than you can possibly believe. We have to make the public aware that the primary producer delivering the cabbage and the tomato and the carrots to us is an important role player.
Did you know, in a normal rainfall season, growers will produce about 20 million tons of sugarcane. The drought of the past 3 years decreased production by about 30%. While visiting, we also had conversations with other producers and role players in the area. And they are all in agreement that agriculture forms the heartbeat of this area. Not only insofar as tourism is concerned, but also regarding relationships between producers, their employees, and the community.
Farming is a thing that works, but you have to use your community to make it work. And it's a partnership, but not you only can be the partner. You have to use everyone around you, and that's the only way you can have a success, is to involve the community. And that's the way forward.
Our community is a very small community. We're all very active in each other's lives, and the local sugarcane producing community and the farmers have all clubbed in. We've got a small allocated area of sugarcane land, and the farmers contribute annually to make up for the input costs of sugarcane farming, and this input cost that they give subsidizes the school fees, and we get 100% of the income from the sugarcane, and that subsidizes the school fees for all the children of Bongola's school, and it keeps our school costs down. And so we all contribute to having a cohesive community.
Did you know? In South Africa, the most important sugarcane producing areas are in KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. There are some 23,860 private sugarcane producers in the country.
Anyone would marvel at the masses of green sugarcane in KwaZulu-Natal. Coupled with the incredible wildlife and tourist destinations in this area, it is a must-see, must-do experience. As is the case with many other agricultural industries, our farming communities prove that they are the backbone of progress and sustainability in rural areas. After the break, Burgess from Landbouweekblad joins us to discuss his insights into the sugar industry. Welcome back to Nation in Conversation. Today we're exploring the sugar industry. It affects all of us, so please join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. With me is Burgess from Landbouweekblad. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, the sugar industry is one of the success stories when it comes to land reform.
Yeah, it's quite an extraordinary story. I mean, sugarcane is quite a forgiving crop. So, you know, unlike maize, it can take a bit of hail, it can take a bit of drought, and it gets produced. A lot of the land that produces sugarcane is actually in communal areas, you know, in Zululand, and the sugar industry has been very proactive in transferring land over into black ownership. As a matter of fact, they got up to 22% of all land on a freehold title. That's not land that had previously been in white hands, was moved over into black ownership. Unfortunately, land claims then came, and now 38% of all that land is now under land claim. So there's a lot of uncertainty. But it's a wonderful crop, and I mean, we have 24,000 emergent small-scale cane producers.
Before we get back to Chris, a central theme that runs throughout the series is the will and tenacity of South African producers to be successful against all odds, to move forward and overcome challenges. Just outside Pietermaritzburg, we paid a visit to Roy McGladdery on his farm, Treetops, another successful sugarcane producer. With good reason, he received the Nedbank Sustainable Farm Award in 2013. He shared his story with us.
When my late dad passed away, my mum was fortunate enough to get the community to help her, because my dad was a beekeeper in those days. And she was fortunate enough to have the community help her to plant the farm up to wattle. And at the time we were studying, so the trees were growing while we were studying, and we were fortunate when we got back, we had a little bit of money to come in to start the sugarcane. And when we arrived back at the time, there was talk of moving the existing Eston mill from the old Ilovo site down the south coast up to Eston. So it was quite exciting times for us, and I wanted to farm. So we felled the wattle trees in small increments as we went along, and we planted the very first stick of sugarcane at that time. And our first allocation many years ago was 1 kilo a week, and we grew the cane just by taking out the trees and borrowing money from the land bank, and we had the assistance from neighbours who helped us out with tractors, and we borrowed implements. But I had a bit of an engineering background, so we made our own equipment, and we were fortunate enough to have growers in the district who supplied us with seed cane at the time. And one of the growers, Mr. Nigel Doney, said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said to me, "Roy, when you get your first cane check, you can pay for that seed cane." And I'll never forget that. It was a good kickstart in my life, and it really did help. And we were fortunate enough at the time, there were some small properties that came up for sale, and we expanded the operation and to where we are today. And those doors and opportunities came, and we lit the fires at the right times, and we're very fortunate that those things come along. When we expanded the farm operation, we had pockets of timber on the different properties, and what we did is we phased out the timber and bought in the sugarcane, just of all the economics at the time. And what we've done with the timber is we've planted timber on the steeper and more marginal cane areas, and the two complement each other. You know, in the off season we harvest the timber and the cane,
you know, in the normal milling season. Our first cane that we cut was 1 kilo a week, which equated to 30 tons a week. And we're now up to 140 tons a day. The expansion has come. We've had to work hard for it, and I don't think, you know, I don't look at it as a monetary value. I look at it as being able to enjoy what I'm doing. I really, really enjoy what I'm doing. You know, weekends and any time of the day, I'm most happiest on the farm. You've got to want to farm. Farming is not something that you must think that it comes easy. It doesn't. It's a 7-day-week job. You've got to be here all the time. And it was a passion of mine, and that's how we've expanded it.
What an inspiring story and a great testament to South African producers. Let's get back to you, Chris. What can be done to help the sugar industry?
Well, you know, firstly, I mean, one has to recognize that the sugar industry is of strategic importance in 2 provinces, in KZN and in Mpumalanga. About 50% of all the crops that are being produced is sugarcane, and then it's can be a huge engine for rural development. You know, so. You know, what the state can do is, I mean, obviously we need import tariffs to prevent cheap, subsidized sugar entering our country. But, you know, the industry should also be supported in where it can make a national contribution. So, you know, cogeneration of electricity. I mean, the sugar mills have been doing it for a very long time, where they use bagasse, which is actually a waste product, burn it and generate electricity, which they run the mills with. You know, and I mean, we should be looking at how sugarcane could be producing electricity. You know, and then there's also the issue of blending bioethanol into petrol. You know, if we just had a 2% blend into petrol or bioethanol, you know, we could open up about 40,000 hectares of sugarcane. You know, and a lot of this sugarcane could be in the communal areas. It could be small-scale farmers producing this. You know, and it could create huge amounts of wealth in areas where there's a real poverty problem. You know, so we really should be taking a strategic view on the industry.
Thank you, Chris. After the break, Mpumelelo welcomes Suresh Naidoo from the South African Sugar Association into the studio to further our insights into this industry.
Welcome back to Nation in Conversation. With me today is Suresh Naidoo, the Vice Chairman of the South African Sugar Association, as well as the association's economist, Sfiso Mhlaba, to share their insights on the sugar industry. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Tell us more about the industry. Is it as sweet as we would imagine it should be? How big is it in terms of its contribution to the GDP?
The sugar industry's contribution to the national GDP is just under 1%.
Okay.
In terms of revenue, the sugar industry's turnover is 14 billion rand per annum.
Yeah.
It produces, in a normal year, in excess of 20 million tons of cane.
Yeah.
And that's 1.8 to 1.9 million tons of sugar.
Maybe we can bring in your economist here to share some perspective around the size of the industry within the agricultural sector.
Yeah. No, thanks very much. Just to emphasize, the sugar industry is located primarily in 2 provinces.
Yeah.
That is KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga.
Yeah.
And we make a massive contribution both overall at the provincial level. In terms of KZN, the contribution is 1.69 of the total KZN GDP.
Yeah.
In Mpumalanga, it's 1.52% of the Mpumalanga GDP.
Yeah.
However, if only you look at those numbers, they may sound small. But if you consider the fact that the industry is based in the rural areas and it functions where very few other industries can function, and the nature and structure of our industry, the partnership between growers and millers ensures that we're able to thrive, to contribute to rural development and economic development in areas where very few industries can provide that level of economic activity.
And those two provinces were hardest hit by the drought. What has been the implications so far?
Look, the industry, some areas have had 4 and some areas 3 consecutive years of drought.
Yeah.
The recent widespread rains have been welcomed, but it's not the end of the drought.
Yeah.
Could well be the beginning of the end, but it's certainly not the end of the drought. I think our production levels fell by some 30% over that 3 and 4 year period.
Yeah.
Some areas in the North Coast experienced their lowest rainfall in more than 100 years. And it's not going to be a 1 year wonder. It's going to take at least two years, or maybe 3 years.
And what kind of employment levels should we expect as a result of that?
Well, the sugar industry as an employer provides about 80,000 direct jobs, 350,000 indirect jobs, and it's estimated that about 1 million people, that's 2% of our population, depend on the industry one way or the other. And it's more in your deep rural areas.
Yeah.
It's those people who are dependent on the sugar industry.
So, but the decline in production from the farm to the factory level, is it not going to open up our market to more imports, which might, in the long run, kind of like impact the sector negatively? What's the situation there?
There's 2 ways to view the imports. I think as an industry, even in the drought, we produced sufficient sugar to meet our local market requirements. However, we play in a space that has huge distortions. The bigger players like Brazil, Thailand, India, they have huge subsidy incentives to produce.
Yeah.
And it's subsidized overproduction, which is dumped on the world market. And those imports impact on us because we have an inadequate tariff to protect us from those imports. And that falls more in Sifiso, if I could look to you to talk to the tariff, the inappropriate tariff levels.
But I mean, if you are able to produce and remain competitive up to that level, notwithstanding all of the output from the rest of their competitors, surely your industry should be doing something great. There should be some positives that come from it.
No, absolutely. I think as Suresh has stated, we provide 85,000 direct jobs. We provide indirect jobs to 350,000 people.
Yeah.
Given the high unemployment in this country, I would quantify that as being a very good contribution. However, we must contextualize the issue of imports. You have producers in Brazil that are getting direct subsidies from their government. Their cost of production as a result of the subsidies are quite low. It means then they're able to sell at below cost of production in the world market and thereby distorts the world market. So now our efficiency, in fact, to be quite clear, we are from a cost perspective in the top 15 producers in the world. So we're very competitive, we're very efficient. And a lot of research, a lot of effort goes into maintaining and improving our efficiency. However, we cannot compete because of the level of distortion in the market. And that is why we need sufficient protection against imports.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It's been a lovely discussion. We can go on and on about this very important discussion about the future of the sugar industry. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for us today here at Nation in Conversation. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you, Mpumelelo. Very insightful indeed. Next week, we take the road to Clarence in the Free State. We learn how craft beer is made and we investigate the beef industry, so do join us. Until then, remember to exercise your right as a consumer. It affects us all. Goodbye.
Nation in Conversation, taking you on a journey through the South African countryside. Proudly sponsored by Monsanto, Nedbank and Senves, in association with Hinterland and NWK.